later, so this way it will be. Yeah. So we have 4 tracks in progress now. So obviously the coaching program. So for you guys, you have 1 more week before you complete your theoretical training. And it looks like quite a few of you are doing pretty well. So completed all the tests so far, and probably will do the rest of the tests well. We have a few people who applied to the coaching program and we never heard from them before. I mean, again, so I'm not sure they lost interest or something else happened. And then we have a few people who completed a few tests, but then missed 1 or 2. And I'm not quite sure what to do with them. So we're trying to probably just talk to them and see what was the reason. So if they were sick or there was a technical problem, I suppose we can give them another chance. Apparently test number 2, somewhere in the email I said that it will stay open a little longer, but then we closed it on time, and I think that led to some confusion, so some people missed it, so I sent a new link to everyone. But other than that, it seems like those who want, they completed all the tests, and those who missed the test, they seem to be not interested anymore in the program, or something else went wrong. So, but it looks like we'll end up with a good group of people, and at this time it looks like we'll have about 30, 40 good coaches who pass all the tests and will be ready to go ahead. Then we have some head coaches, so they're also helping us get everything ready for the practical phase. So there will be about 10 head coaches, and so they will be sort of coaches of coaches. So some of them have completed the program multiple times. In fact, I think there is one who has done it like 5 times by now. So they will be sort of helping you, monitoring your performance, providing feedback on your work, but also helping us with the administrative side. So they will be helping, with making sure that all emails are answered on time, and everything's clear, and you know what needs to be done. So that's the coaching program. But also just as an update, so we have the early track in progress now. They are now in week 4, if I remember correctly, so right in the middle. And so we have 1,236, if I remember correctly, people on teams there. As always, there are a few people whose names we got from the professors, but who did not do the readiness test, and thus we did not put them on the on the teams. So it's like 10 people who attempted the test, didn't pass it, and never attempted it again. And then another maybe 100 people or so who we've never heard from them. So what could have happened is maybe they dropped the course altogether, or something else, completely. But obviously we wouldn't place people like that on teams. So for them, it's right in the middle. So they already started working on the task itself, and it seems like they're doing fine. So as always, a few people, like last week, it was like 5 people that got peer evaluations below 2.0, which means Simone, my assistant, sent them the warnings. And if the situation does not improve by Monday, we will kick them out of the project. But, those are usual numbers. So there are always a few people like that. Then we have the late track. So we expect about 4,000 people in the late track. In fact, we may have more. We have an unusually large number of applications in these last 2 weeks. So the total number of professors at this time is like 178, if I remember correctly, which is more than usual. Normally we have like 140, 130. So this time, for some reason, it's extra 20 or 30 applications. So which means that we may have a little bit more students in the late track than usual, but we are aiming for about 4,000. And so they are doing now the readiness test. So they will be placed on teams on March the 5th. And so they still have a little time to prepare. So we already got many names, many more are coming every day. And then we have the kids. So we have, as I said, about 1,000 people who were approved to be admitted to the program, but just like we expected, not everyone will pass the theory test. So we have some kids who didn't even show up. So I'm not sure if maybe the parents applied on their behalf, but then the kids realized it's more work, or they're not ready, or not interested. I'm not sure. So, or maybe just people thought it would be a fun idea, but then once they saw how much work it is, they just decided, oh, that's too much. Then we also have quite a few that are actually doing very well, have done every single test, and are doing very well. And then, as always, we have a few in between. So they've had 2 or 3 tests so far. And so there are a few people who like missed one, or maybe got a low grade on one. So again, we'll have to look and see and decide what we do with them later. So some of those people are kids, and then there are a few what we call professionals, so non-student adults. Obviously, when we will place them in teams, they will be separated by age. So older people with older people, kids with kids of their own age. And what's good about Academy is, so in the X-Culture University, we have about 40 countries, 41 if I remember correctly as of now. And there will be about 5,000 students total. But one big challenge with the university track is that we have a large number, a huge portion of students coming from the United States. In fact, close to half of all the participants are from the United States. And that's even with the fact that we are not really accepting new applications from the United States anymore, just because we have so many trusted and, all-time participants who participated before. But many of those American students or America-based students are foreign students. So with that, I guess every team will have probably 2 students that are out of the United States, but only one of them is an American in America, and the other one will be probably an international student studying in the United States. But then when we look at the X-Culture Kids program, there it's a much more diverse group. So we have 70-something countries at this time. We just had the webinar, and as I said at the beginning of the webinar, we had at that time about 50 people, like first few minutes, who just joined in. And so I did ask them, where are you from? And we literally didn't have 2 people from the same country. Like we had everybody's from somewhere else. So we had, I think, like 2 from the United States, and it just happened to be that we had 2 from Romania. But that's basically it. Everybody else was from somewhere else. Exotic countries too, like Bosnia and Herzegovina, or I don't know, Sierra Leone. I mean, like I didn't even know that they have internet there, and evidently they do, and they do very well. So very proud of them. So there, it will not be a problem to have everybody from a different team on each team. So it's so diverse that it should be perfectly fine. We have a little bit more applicants from India there, but again, it's like, in the whole crowd, it's like 40 people from India, which is still a very small percentage, and everybody else is from other countries. So that's the last fourth track. When it comes to the coaching program, as I said, we still have a week to go with your tests, and then once we have that, we're basically ready to make the final selections. So we're trying to have it at about 30, 40 maximum coaches, and we'll go with that. The early track started asking for help, and so while the coaches are in training, we're using head coaches to answer those questions. So we already have some teams that asked for feedback, some teams that had some first conflicts. So the head coaches, being trained last semester, so they're ready to help there, and that's where we stand. Any questions, any comments before we move on to the next topic?
Hello, Mr.
Yes,
Terrace.
go ahead. Mm-hmm.
I had a question about this deliverable that we had to compare the tools in the third week. In the last moment, they asked for a file that we should have made before, and in it we should have compared some tools, some communication tools, and some webinar tools.
Yeah.
After we had read about all of them, was that mentioned before, or was that just at the end of the exam?
You mean the task to compare some things? Yeah, I'm not sure if it was so. The idea was that you would conduct so you look at the training module, obviously, which contains a lot of information about the online collaboration tools, right? So you would have a little description of what each one does, and then a link to a video that explains briefly what the purpose of the tool is, and then a more longer video that provides a little bit overview how to use it. And then, so there was a question so that you would do a quick research and sort of provide for the online collaboration tools. I think you had to just simply kind of provide some recommendations as to which one would be most usable for this task or for that task, right? So the idea there is that you would not be doing a very extensive research, but rather, based on your own preparation for the test, will be able to either come up with that right away, or maybe take a little break, write it up, and then submit it. So we don't really expect a dissertation from that. So the point here is that you received some training from us, but because new tools are available all the time, some of them change functionality. We just wanted to prompt you to do a little research there, just to think about it. So, and most of those answers, I mean, questions obviously don't have the correct answers. Like, how can you say that, for example, Google Docs is always better than Dropbox? I mean, they have slightly different functionality. They may be better for one thing versus another. But as I said, the idea here was to more kind of prompt you to do some research and then see what kind of research you can do and sort of look at your performance there. But no, it was not expected that you would, spend several days doing that research. No, it's more kind of summarizing your thoughts. Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I meant that, and I wanted to. Yeah.
One thing that you will need to do, and I can't remember which week it is. So when we will have a training module on webinar tools. Again, you have a training module on webinar tools that was designed based on our own knowledge. So literally last year we got a subscription to like 7 different webinar platforms. We tested Webinar Ninja, Webinar Jam, Zoom, what is it? The Blackboard Collaborate, WebEx. I mean edX. What is it? The WebEx. And then there was also something with AdWebinar or something like that. And so we tested like 7 of them, I believe. In fact, it took me some time to cancel some of those subscriptions because some of them I just thought I would buy it for 1 month and then cancel. But turns out that it's the case where canceling the subscription is much more difficult than getting it. But in the end, so we ran a series of webinars using each time a different tool just to see how they work. And so in the end, we learned a lot of, different interesting facts about, functionality differences, quality of the connection, suitability for different purposes. In the end, we chose Zoom. It seems to be the best choice for us. But new platforms come out all the time. So new platforms come out all the time, new functions, new technical capabilities. And so for that one, the goal is, or the task is that you will do a little quick research of your own. And I think it does ask that you sort of, look and see what else is there and then kind of describe based on your own research, what would be the optimal tool for example, for webinars, for training purposes, like what we do in Xculture.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So again, here, we don't expect a dissertation. I mean, we sort of know some answers already, but yeah, the goal is that, you will do some research and for yourself learn some new things, but also maybe your research will inform us. Maybe in the future, it will be better for us to change to a different platform. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I wanted to ask something, and maybe a request about some research or some mini research. Can we be informed in advance, like you're at the end of the test, and it suddenly asks for some research and with tables and something like 200 words?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I don't think you will have, so I think there was something like that again, we only need like 200 words, so we don't really expect you to write more. And again, it's not really so much research per se, it's more like, answer the question using the knowledge you already have, maybe do some quick research as you're writing it. But it's a fair comment that maybe we should have informed you that there will be like an open-ended question that you will need to answer. But the good news is, and I think maybe that's something that didn't occur to me, you can stop the test anytime. And then when you click on the link again and come back to it later on, it will remember your answers. So you can take a break anytime. So like literally when you get the link, I think I sent it last Monday, and then the next one will probably go out again on Monday or Tuesday. You can actually look at those questions right at the beginning of the week, and you don't have to finalize it. So you just look at the questions, what's expected, and then spend the rest of the week preparing or maybe writing up your answers somewhere in Microsoft Word. And then at the end of the week, you just, answer the questions, finalize everything, paste your answers to the open-ended questions, and submit. So until you submit, it stays open. And then at the same time, once you go to the next page, everything on the previous page is saved. You don't even have to re-enter it later on. So that may be the best strategy here. So, but it's a good point.
Yeah, thank you. No.
I didn't realize maybe it's probably too late for you guys anyway. And it's not such a big deal, but maybe in the future it would be a good idea to sort of, open-ended questions, give them to you in advance so that that's something you need to prepare. That's a good point.
Yeah, like other deliverables that we had to review other students' comments from last semester and also their reports in another week, we could just schedule our time. We could divide our time. And okay, this
Right.
day I will do this thing, and this day I will do this thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bartosz,
I think it would be something. Yeah.
yeah, Hannah actually reminds me, and she's correct. I think on your resource page, if you go, let's actually take a quick look together. Maybe I'm missing something there because so much is happening. But if you see my screen, so if you go to the xculture.org coaching, let me see if I can quickly access it. I believe there is a summary of those big tasks that you will need to do. So let me see, coaching, yeah, right here. So let's see if it's there, but I'm pretty sure that it does contain, so what, did I press something wrong here? Yeah, I think here for each training module, it does say that you will have, you know, like for example, next week, you will have to review portfolios prepared by the Xculture coaches last semester. And it says that you will have to randomly select a few and look at them. You have linked to them, and then the deliverable will be that you'll have to write like a one-page summary, or in this case, it will be 2 pages. So you sort of have here, you know, an explanation of what to expect. Likewise, this week, it seems like it does say that, you know, review business reports. So I'm not sure if it contains all the things because you're asking about the technical side, and I think it may have not been mentioned here. But it looks like at least for the bigger tasks, I was trying to give you heads up in the description here. And I'll make sure to give you a much more detailed description in the future to make sure that you're right. You don't have a surprise, you know, you're doing it in the last few hours before the deadline. And then surprise, surprise, you have to write a 200-word, you know, little essay. So obviously we don't want that to happen.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's just that maybe it's just me that I
Yep.
usually finalize the exam. I just take the exam at in the last moment,
Yeah.
because
No, that's
you
totally
know, our day
understandable.
is your
And
night, and yeah.
no worries. As I said, here we don't expect, you know, in-depth, you know, multi-day research project. It's more to prompt you to, you know, to take a quick look and think about it and then write it up so that we see that you have given it some thought. So no worries. All right. One more thing that I wanted to discuss with you, and I was hoping that they will be here. I'm not sure what happened. Kim and Tim. So we have finally decided how the workload will be distributed among them. So Kim, as I said, I think last time, she will be managing everyday operations. So emails, questions, cases. So the emails that come to coaching with requests for help. Kim will be processing those emails, assigning you to the cases, sending you the reminders to submit the case reports if needed, and then cataloging everything and so on and so on. She will also be helping and managing the webinars. So you know, meetings that we have weekly, as well as special meetings that you will be delivering, for example, for the students, or just a small meeting among the coaches. So she will be basically managing everything that comes to, you know, interaction between, you know, the coaches and the students, among the coaches, all those kind of little everyday thousands of little tasks. Tim, on the other hand, will be helping you with your portfolios, feedback, and analytics. And let me tell a few words about each of those. So as you remember, we want you at the end of the project to have a portfolio that you can show to your future employers. And so the portfolio will contain your case reports, which will be happening kind of on a random schedule, you know, when the request for help comes. But also there will be 3 things that you need to do during the semester on a kind of fixed schedule. So you will have to develop a training-based module. You will have, text-based training module. You will have to develop or record a video lecture, and then you will have to deliver a live webinar. And as I said before, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be, you know, you have to try it. And some of those, by the way, are really good. So you already have access to the portfolio items, little sample from the last semester. And as you see, I mean, some of them are really good. Like some of those webinars or video lectures are really, really good. And some of those text-based training modules are really informative. So you can do whatever you want as far as the topic, but you know that you need to have it done by the end of the semester. And so the sooner the better. And so Tim will be the one who will work with you on that. So when you have the ideas, he will provide feedback, tell you if it's a good idea. And in most cases, it's a good idea. He'll just give you some suggestions for how to develop it properly. He will be the one who will read your work and provide feedback, who will watch your video lectures or webinars and provide feedback. Head coaches will be helping there as well. So they will also attend all that, all those, meetings, webinars, and kind of monitor your performance and then tell you how you did and help you grow. But Tim will be coordinating that process. Second, so every week the students submit deliverables, and we want to provide some feedback on their work. Again, both to help the students, but also so you can gain some experience in providing feedback that is constructive, developmental, does not discourage the students, encourages them to do a better job. And so we don't want you to spend too much time here, so you will not be evaluating every single submission, but instead you will see the whole cohort, and then you will provide a couple pages of kind of feedback to the cohort itself. And so you already have access, or at least Tim has access to all the submissions from the last semester. And because many companies are returning and participating this time, you can start reading the submissions from the last semester just to form an idea of what the typical, problems are, advice that you can give. And I guarantee you that pretty much the same problems you will see again this semester. But the way it will work is, again, Tim will distribute to you last semester's work right up at the beginning of the semester. Then when the time comes for this semester students to submit their work, again, he will distribute that to you as well every Monday. And so presumably you will have your feedback more or less ready and written up based on the last semester's work. But then if you see the submissions this semester that they're a little different, or maybe something that you didn't think about before, you'll have a few days to add a little bit to your kind of preliminary feedback and finalize your work. And then he will be the one who, again, will take your input from all the coaches and then spend some time, formatting it and putting it all in one document. So before we send it to the students, we want it to be neat and professional and informative, standard formatting, so looks professional. And so Tim will be the one who will kind of use your input to put it all in one final coherent document. So he will be doing a lot of analytic work here, but also some managerial work, coordinating with you guys, making sure that everything's fine there. And then obviously he will be the one, again, who will coordinate the work of the head coaches so that you get feedback on your feedback. So when you provide feedback, we want you to learn. So we not only want you to give that input, but we want you to know if it was good, bad, how you can do it better next time. And so they will look at your work, evaluate it, and then give you suggestions for how you can do it better next time. So the goal here is that after several weeks of going through this cycle, you will be really, really good at providing constructive, developmental, motivating feedback. Same thing with the analytics. Again, we want to give the companies a quick summary of what the students worked on this week, what kind of ideas they've been proposing. The idea here is that, again, for the clients, that's useful because some of them may have hundreds of submissions, and the managers are just too busy to read them. And so what happens is the managers are oblivious, don't know what's going on in the teams. They cannot provide feedback. The teams are not sure if the clients are happy with what they have so far. So everybody's sort of driving blind. And so we would like to provide some quick analytic summary of the work that the students did to the clients so that the clients can look at those couple of pages, maybe 1 or 2 pages summary, and say, okay, well, these ideas are interesting. I want more about this, more of that. Maybe this idea is not interesting. I tried it, it didn't work. So for you, again, it's a good experience to learn how to summarize massive amounts of information in a kind of short executive summary. Again, a skill that probably will serve you well in all kinds of walks of life. So you definitely will have to write analytic summaries for your bosses. You will be expecting your subordinates to write some for you. And again, if you know how to do it well, you will be able to explain better. But also any writing that you do, it's always important to be able to put it, in a clear, concise form on paper. And so again, Tim will be helping you with that. So you will have access to the submissions from the last semester, so you can take a look at some of them and kind of get a good sense of what kind of ideas the students are proposing. Then you'll take a quick look at this semester's submissions, and so kind of write a 1-page summary of the most interesting ideas, some sort of an analytics in terms of the averages. Like if this week the question was what should be the price, you'll get a kind of general sense of what the average recommended price is, or expected, for example, marketing budget or things like that. So some of that will be easy to just take an average. Others kind of, you don't have to go through each report and, meticulously add everything up, but, kind of a general sense of what people are suggesting. And then, trying to present it on the 1-page summary, in a nice, readable way. But then again, not everyone will do an excellent job. It will be a lot of 1-pagers from the coaches. So Tim will be the one who will then work with that and integrate it all into one document that will go out to the company, as well as provide feedback to you guys. He will work with the head coaches here. And so in the end, you'll get feedback on your work. but also the clients will get those summaries. And again, Tim will help with that. And then when everything's done, he will also work on providing the analytic summaries based on the final reports from the students. So there will be a stack of reports for each company. The bosses will never have the time to read it. So we'll try to do some additional analytic summaries based on those submissions. We'll see how much work that will be. I already put some money actually aside to maybe even hire some additional help. But yeah, so that will be a big important task. And so we want the clients to get not only a big stack of reports, but also a nice readable summary, a few pages that they can quickly review and get an idea of what the students recommended. So yeah, and then I, Simona, Karen will just manage the everyday things like questions from the students and, all those surveys and links and, all the other many thousands of things that mainly come from the students. So that's the plan for now, and we'll see how that goes. I don't know, Karen, do you have any questions? I mean, any comments or any observations so far? And if the coaches have any questions, I guess that's a good time. I don't know, Karen, anything happening new on your end?
No, I've been going through the coaching materials. I'm just so impressed with the management training that everyone's getting through the program. So it will be interesting to get all the coaches' feedback throughout their process, how it's going, what they're really getting out of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll see how it goes. As always, as I said, there will be some who didn't realize how much work it is, and so they'll drop out, which is perfectly fine. And again, in this case, it's not because they're lazy or bad or anything like that. It just, they have demands in life and didn't realize that it would be so. Yeah. But then it actually seems like most are doing very well. And obviously, some of the people here we've known for a while, like I see Kirill, for example. Kirill, didn't you already complete the coaching program before, or you were just a student several times? Because it seems like we've known you for years. So he participated as a student. He was in Miami. You were not in Italy, were you? No. Yeah. So, but anyway, so some of you obviously we've known for a while, and then others not so long. But yeah, so most of these people are very smart. So no doubt about that. Okay, so then I guess if we don't have any other comments, we're going to stop here. And yeah, I guess I'll see you next weekend if anything comes up. Any last minute questions, comments? All right. Okay, well then, yeah, we don't want to make the meetings longer than they need to be. So,
Mr. Terrace, I had 2 questions regarding the symposium.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. Yeah, I
Go
wanted
ahead, please.
to ask that, now we have 2 positions, student and ambassador. Should we apply for both of them or just one of them? And how's it going if you don't get selected for ambassador? Is it
very good question?
Like, will you automatically be?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Actually, let me give you a quick update on that as well. So the next symposium is in Calgary. The preparations are in full swing. Lots of things happening. We started sending out the invitations to the students. So we sent out the invitations to apply a long time ago. Quite a few people applied. And so we selected, I believe at this time, it's 250 people who got the invitations to proceed with the registration. The reason it's more than 150 is because we know that some of those people will not proceed with the registrations. For somebody, the schedule changed. Others didn't realize that it costs so much to travel to Canada, and so on and so on. So we're inviting a slightly larger number than what we need. So we expect that from this group, we will get 150 applicants plus or minus. But if it happens that more people drop out, then we'll just go down the waiting list. And so we are still planning to add a little bit more people to this group of invitees. So we want to also send out the invitations to the students who participate this semester. We didn't send those invitations yet because we don't have their performance records, and so we don't know who's good, who's bad. There is an idea that maybe we should invite all, and by the time they apply, we will have more information about their performance. And so by that time, we'll be ready. So maybe that's what we'll do. Maybe we'll invite them right away, all of them. But then, as I said, give them a few weeks to apply, and then by that time we'll have several weeks of their performance results. And so if there are more people than we need, we can then make some choices based on those performance records. But that's basically the students. And so we have, as I said, I think we got like 600 applications, but some of them were not completed. Some of them didn't have the recommendation letters, so some of them were disqualified. And so we are working with the good ones. And I believe Leilani selected like 250 for now. And then we'll see how many of them actually proceed with the registration. The challenge obviously is that the students have to pay the registration, which is $800 something, which is a lot of money. I mean, it's for a whole weekend, so it's about $100 per day, $115 per day or something like that, which actually not that much, because just the hotel probably would cost that much in Calgary, if not more. In our case, we get in that amount, it includes housing, food, transportation. We'll have a lot of company visits. We'll have a field trip to Lake Louise and Banff, to the mountains. So obviously all of that, insurance, all of that has to be covered. And so that's how much it costs. The actual cost is actually slightly less than what we charge. So, but the reason we added like extra 10% or so is because one, we need to have some money for the emergencies. Like in the case something goes wrong and we have to spend extra money, obviously, like it's thousands of dollars, and so we will not be able to cover it out of our own pocket. So we budget a little bit more, and if we are left with some extra money at the end, we will just use it for preparation for the next semester. So that's not a problem. Second, there will be several professors who are very, very actively working on this. Leilani, obviously the director of the program, will have spent, definitely hundreds. I just don't know how many hundreds of hours. Then there will be people like, for example, Karen Linden here, Tim Muth, Leighton Wilkes, local there. So who will also have spent a lot of time and have to travel to the conference. And obviously, if we had to pay them the market value, I mean, these people are very, very expensive. So it would be, tens of thousands of dollars for work like this. But so obviously they sort of do it for free, but at the very least we want to be able to pay for their travel, because again, they spend so much time preparing the event and making it possible. So we need a little bit extra money to be able to at least pay for their travel, so they don't have to, not only spend so much time, but also pay on their own. And then the ambassadors, and I'll get to them in a minute, but also since they will be working a lot and they will be there a week early, so they'll spend 2 weeks in Calgary. Again, they're not paid, but at least we want to cover their, kind of expenses while there. So sort of registration fees. So we want to be able to feed them, to provide the transportation, housing, insurance, all those things for them for free. So they don't really make any money, but at least they don't have to pay. And so for that reason, we have to charge a little bit more those who are participating as regular students. Now, in terms of the ambassadors, this one's tricky. So we always have many more people who apply for those positions than we need. So this time we want to have 20 ambassadors. And so we want 10 of them to be local from Calgary, because many tasks do require local presence, like, finding the bus companies, finding the food caterers, making arrangements with the local companies that we will be visiting, making all those printed materials, the bags, conference bags, t-shirts, all that stuff. So obviously all of that has to be done locally and a long time in advance. And so for that, we need some people locally. So there will be probably 10 local ambassadors, plus they know the university, they know the city, they know the businesses there. So, and then there will be 10 from other countries. And so that's the positions that you guys can apply for. In terms of should you apply for both, yes and no. So we usually give the preference to the people who have already completed the coaching program. So people who have, in fact, some of you, those who are head coaches now, have gone through this multiple times. And so the reason we would like to give those few positions to those people, there are two reasons. One, because they're most prepared. So those who have done coaching program a couple of times, maybe even those who have served as head coaches, they know X-Culture very well. So they have been with us for years. They have helped us in many ways. They have learned in many different, capacities. So they're most prepared to do this kind of job. And so it is obviously our preference to work with them. But then at the same time, it's also a way of rewarding people who have been working with us for a few years. So obviously they have participated multiple times. They have done, a lot of work for us essentially for free. In fact, in some cases, they even had to pay for that experience. And so it would only make sense that when the choice comes, who should be selected in this group, we should select the people whom we sort of owe a lot because they helped us a lot. And so I'm not sure if we'll have enough positions available to offer them to the coaches who are going through the program now. So more likely than not, the positions will be filled with the people who have done the coaching program in the past, especially those who have done it several times, and especially those who have also attended the previous meetings, so they will be probably given a preference. So therefore, you obviously can apply, and we never know how many people will apply, because maybe for someone the schedule doesn't work. For others, even though we pay for everything while you're there, we still have to find the money to travel to Canada, and maybe not everyone can afford it. So I do encourage you to apply if you would like to be considered. But at the same time, I think we will probably have enough people from this group who have done it, year after year, and they probably will be favored over others. As I said, especially those who have participated as students in the previous symposia, so they sort of know how the process goes, and so they have that experience, and we need people with experience. So for you guys, apply, we'll see what happens. But then next year, so when we do it in Grenada, for example, obviously you will be perfect candidates, because by that time you will have done it, as the coaching program, maybe attended as a student at the symposium. So obviously you will be then sort of next in line. So, but let's see. No guarantees at this time. Do apply if you want to, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and if we don't get selected, should we again apply for the students, or is it just that we will
if you
be
applied as a student, you're
changed
obviously in the program. And as I said, some people in the coaching program obviously would be good, like those who are in the coaching program now, those would be still good candidates. So, and as I said, the final choices will be made by Leilani and probably Leighton, and I'm not sure if they will want to also, I suspect they will also ask Karen and Tim if you would be good candidates. Plus some of you, like I'm looking at Kirill here, so he's participated. It's your first time being a coach, but you've done the X-Culture, like I don't even remember how many times. So again, he would be a good candidate. You, Bakhtash, again, there will be some kids. And so I don't know, maybe the coach should be one of the former X-Culture kids. So I suppose that may be a good, so if you did get an invitation, I recommend that you apply. I do not guarantee that you will be selected. So those who got the invitations are already sort of giving you my recommendations. But ultimately, if we have more people than we need, I'll just yield that final decision to Leilani, because she will be the one who will have to work with you. And so it's only fair that she makes those choices in the end. So I know she already selected one person. So she was a coach in Italy, did an extremely good job, went through the coaching program, is a head coach now, participated as a student, I believe even twice. And so Leilani knows her very well and said, this person now deserves to be a coach, or ambassador, I guess, as we call them. But we still have quite a few open positions. So apply and let's see what happens. All right. So then, yeah, I guess we'll talk again next week. So start getting ready for some cases and requests for help. Once you're done with your fourth test, we should be ready to go ahead with that. And yeah, let's see how it goes. Okay, all right. Well, hopefully I'll see you in Canada. If not as ambassadors, then at least as students. But hopefully at least some of you will be also in the role of ambassadors. By the way, Bakhtash, one more thing. Ambassadors do have to come a week early. And so one of the challenges we expect is that most of the people we invited by now have graduated and have jobs, or will have summer jobs or summer internships. And so one of the challenges is that while most of them want to attend, not everyone can drop everything and go to a foreign country for 2 weeks. As much fun as it is, once you get a little older, so it's not always possible to take a break that long. And so that's why I encourage you to apply, because you never know how many people may not be available, even though they would be perfect candidates. So let's see how it goes. Okay, well, have a nice weekend and talk to you next week.